All right, guys, so we're going to move on to monopolistic competition and oligopolies. All right, so this will be the third and fourth section, and by the end of this video, you should have the rest of your table completed. All right, so let's get started. All right, so I'm going to talk about, when we compare the monopolistic competition and monopoly and perfect competition, how are they similar and how are they different? We're going to talk about how can these firms compete without lowering prices, and then how do firms in monopolistically competitive markets set output? And then what is an oligopoly? All right, so in monopolistic competition, many companies compete in an open market to sell products which are similar but not identical. A good example would be like your fast food restaurants, and we talked about McDonald's, and we talked about Burger King. Okay, McDonald's is known for the Big Mac, and Burger King is known for the Whopper. Okay, although they are the same concept, they are burgers, they are different, right? Yeah, you can, if you want to be specific, Big Mac has, mac sauce and then a third piece of bread. And then Whoppers, they're flame grilled, like Mr. Butcher told us. Just know that they are similar yet different products, okay? The characteristics on your column on your worksheet, says number one, 3 to 5 companies control 75% of production. There are significant barriers to entry. Okay, so there are some barriers to entry in regards to starting up the cost of the product and how to go into the market, and as well as knowing being technological knowledgeable, technologies, technology knowledgeable. Sorry, guys. Also, the price setting ability. There's also called price wars, and we'll get to that later. So there are many firms. Okay, they're not marked by economy of scale or high startup costs, but they do allow more firms to enter the market. There are few artificial barriers to entry. I know I said significant. Either or is okay. Firms in a monopolistically competitive market do not face higher barriers to entry. When I say significant, I mean there are a few, but there are specific. Okay. We do have slight control over price in a firm. Okay, they have some freedom to raise prices because each firm's a little different from everyone else's. So if you want to raise the price of a Big Mac, that's fine. You could also raise the price of a Whopper, or you can the Baconator at Wendy's. Okay, just understand, those companies and firms have control of the price, but at some point they're going to determine price based on supply and demand. Also, they have differentiated products. Like I said, the Big Mac and Whopper and Baconator, they're all burgers. However, they have different ingredients and different items in there. And this distinguishes their goods from other products. And we also talked about, Levi jeans and Rustler jeans. The difference between that is quality. People want to buy things thinking that it's, worth the money. Okay. And if you feel like you're buying something that's necessarily cheap, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the best quality. Okay. We also talked about, Levi jeans and True Religion jeans. True Religion jeans are more expensive than Levi's. However, both can be considered quality products. Also, you can say, Nike and Adidas. People buy Nikes, for the simple slogan, just do it. And they know that both companies have been around for the long time. Okay. And so there's an assumption, a perception that, these companies have, good morals, they have good products, and essentially we're going to buy them. However, they're all differentiated. So they're all a little different somehow. Same concept, similar concept. However, they're not identical. Okay, there's this thing called non-price competition. This is a way to attract customers through style, service, or location. Okay, so characteristics of goods. If there's a new size, or if a new color, or a new shape, new texture, taste. Okay, if a new burger comes out, or if a new shoe comes out, like I told you with Michael Jordan, he's a genius. Although he doesn't necessarily make a brand new shoe, he may add a new color. Okay. We talked about in our class the Brett 11s, okay, the white with the black on the bottom. I saw recently they started, they made like red Jordans, okay, retro 4s, I believe. And also they have gold plated, 11s, okay. If you have no clue what I'm talking about, please feel free to ask me, or you can simply Google Jordan shoes 11, okay. Sorry, guys. I just using the examples that, my second period gives me, and I feel like it's relevant. Also, your shape and texture, the characteristics, basically what resembles a good, what essentially sells the good. Also, location of sale, a convenience store in the middle of the desert, differentiates its products simply by selling 100 miles away from the nearest competitor. So understand, businesses are taking a look at where they're actually setting up their store. Okay. If we are in the middle of Gainesville, that may be a popular place. However, if we go down to, let's say, Blairsville, Georgia, okay, up in the mountains, Okay, if we are selling the same product, but however we're all the way in Blairsville, it's gonna be kind of hard to get that crowd down in Gainesville to go up to Blairsville, especially if you're working a restaurant. Okay, but this goes back to to quality. People, businesses sell and attract customers through their style, service, or location. Okay, but you don't have to necessarily lower the price for that. Also, your service level. Okay, if there's a higher level of service, you could charge higher prices. And then advertising. Advertising is a big deal. Okay, Nike slogan, just do it. Under Armour's protect this house, or I will. Okay, there's an old one, Stanley Steamer. Call 1-800 Stanley Steamer. You're a carpet cleaner. Okay, I know you probably haven't seen that before, and I'm showing my age, but there's so much companies that use advertising to its advantage. Same thing, Aflac. Okay, you know what that is? It's a Doug. Okay, it's life insurance. It's cool. Or Geico, or the Gecko there. Okay, you see where I'm getting at here. All right, so we talk about price, profits, and outputs. Prices are going to be higher in a perfect competition because firms have smaller power to raise the prices. In a monopolistically competitive market, they can earn profits in the short run. They got to work hard to differentiate their products to stay ahead of their rivals. Okay, if you know that their products are very similar, Big Mac and Whopper, if they're so similar to where they look the same, they taste the same, both companies not going to essentially earn profits. So you got to differentiate. You got to show that each product is different and why it's better than something else. You got to sell me why Rustler jeans at Walmart are not as good as Levi jeans. You can talk about quality, but you got to prove that. If you not necessarily prove it, but you just got to attract the customers to believe that. Also, cost and variety. And say that 5 times fast. Monopolistic, competitive firm, they cannot produce at a lowest average price due to the number of firms in the market. So, like I said, businesses are in it for what? To make money. They can offer a wide array of goods and services to consumers, but they can't. They're very limited on their price change. If you make something too cheap, people will buy it. Are you really making money? No. However, if you are raising the price too high, they can look to substitutes. Instead of getting the Big Mac, they can go for the Whopper. Or instead of the Nike shoes, they can go for the Adidas. Or instead of the Ford truck, which may be a quality product, they may switch to a Dodge truck simply because it's cheaper. Mr. Brookshire gave the example of his Kia. Okay, he got the Kia for $20,000 or $25,000. However, if the Honda version of his car was similar in $20,000, which is a little more than what he probably paid for his Kia, he probably would have got that based on quality because people think Honda's a good company. I'm not saying Kia is not, but just give you a hypothetical reason. All right. So an oligopoly, this describes a market dominated by a few large profitable terms. Okay. So some characteristics of an oligopoly: 3 to 5 companies control 75% of production. There are few or significant or specific barriers to entry. They do have the price setting ability. However, this will lead to price wars. Think about it. If you have two new gas stations, okay, they're going to compete, on the cheaper price to get people to go there. I know when I lived in Winder, that's where I'm from, they actually had price wars on the new BP and Shell. Okay, they had gas as low as 25 cents just to get customers in. However, when too many customers come in, we talk about supply, you're going to have to raise the price. Okay. Underneath number 3 on your column, put interdependence, price leadership. What that means is they have to keep prices somewhat in line with each other. And I'll leave a copy with Mr. Brookshire or the substitute to fill in the blanks should you not get what I'm talking about. Also, they have cartels. Okay. It's a group of businesses. They come together to set prices and supply. No, not like the Mexican drug cartel. Like legit, a cartel, a business cartel is a group of business. They come together to set prices, or an association of producers established to coordinate prices and production. All right, so if you look here, you're comparing market structures, and you can simply see, perfect competition, you have many firms, monopolistic many firms. Oligopoly, you have 2 to 4, very few firms, monopoly 1. And you can look through this table and see, the differences, compared and difference between all 4 market structures in an economy. Again, this PowerPoint is on Canvas, should you want to reference back to it. All right, so the difference between perfect competition and monopolistic competition arises because what? All right, you should have got D in this one, okay? In monopolistic competition, competitive firms sell goods that are similar enough to be substituted for one another. So don't get that confused with monopoly. Monopoly is one single seller. There's no substitutes. Monopolistic is very similar products. However, they are a little different. They're not identical. And an oligopoly is a market structure in which a few firms, large firms, dominate a market, which is D. All right, so we're gonna wrap this up right here. With the last column, monopolistic, you should have got many sellers. You should have got some control over price. It says C3 below. It says non-price competition, underline that, is key to competing in the market structure. This is through branding and advertising. You can write under that, advertising. Then at the bottom it says, this simply means that businesses compete based on blank, advertising. Write that in big, bold letters, okay? And then number 4 says, the most common structure, market structure in our economy. This is what we're very similar to seeing, very well known, okay? And some examples of a monopolistic competition would be the clothing manufacturer, Blue Jeans. We talked about Rustler jeans and True Religion jeans and Levi jeans. And then we also talked about fast food. And then some examples of an oligopoly were cell phone providers. We have, AT&T running Cricket, okay, or T-Mobile running Boost Mobile or Metro PCS, okay. And then we also talked to, AT&T with Singular, how it came in the early 2000s and bought out Singular Wireless and actually made AT&T, what is a big known company today. So we'll talk about regulation and deregulation. We'll go ahead and wrap this up. Basically, like I said, market power is the ability for a company to control prices and output. We talked about price discrimination. Predatory pricing. It just basically sets the market price below cost levels for short term to drive out competitors. Remember, in a market, it's very competitive. There's also called an antitrust law. This is kind of go to U.S. history. This talks about how there is no monopolies unless it's a natural monopoly or government monopoly. So these explain the different ways how you can essentially go into stopping a monopoly. Deregulation is a removal of some government controls of our market. We talked about regulations like you can't have meow in your food, or we can't use a student desk as a baby car seat. There's regulations to that. Deregulation may be pulling those guidelines or requirements out to essentially help out competition. And then lastly, it says number 1, antitrust laws allow the U.S. government to do all the following except prevent firms from selling new experimental products. Although it may prevent a monopoly, it doesn't essentially prevent an entrepreneurs from selling new products that they innovate. And then the purpose of both deregulation and antitrust laws is to promote competition. Perfect. All right, guys. So that's the end of the PowerPoint. If you would take a look at both videos I just made to you, it will be on Canvas. And then I will check in with you on Thursday. All right, guys. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask Mr. Brookshire or wait until tomorrow and I'll see you. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.